You know, for a studio that's had trouble making interesting and compelling villains, Wanda Maximoff may be the most interesting one yet. WandaVision. So WandaVision is the first in what I can only assume will be an endless line of Disney Plus exclusive shows that are set in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And as for launching this new wave of content, WandaVision is an interesting choice. I personally would not have started off with WandaVision. I probably would have started with Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It's a bit more grounded and has more of the Marvel Universe feel. But WandaVision is a surprisingly good time. But it's not flawless. And that's mostly because this was Disney's first attempt at doing this kind of Marvel Universe content. And I feel like they were still trying to figure out the pacing and how they're going to structure the different episodes. Because in the beginning of the season, the episodes are pretty short. They're only like 20-something minutes if you don't count the incredibly long credits. And it's not like they have post-credit stingers at the end of every episode to kind of pique your interest for the next one. A lot of the episodes, especially in the first half, tend to stop right when the action's starting to peak and things are moving forward. That's when they cut it. And that's fine on a show like Cobra Kai where they drop the entire season at once, but on a show like this, it just makes you frustrated. And at times it makes you feel like a lot of that time you spent watching the show was wasted because it didn't amount to much that week. But in all fairness, the pacing does get better as the season progresses. They give you more information quicker, and they pretty much drop the whole sitcom gimmick about halfway through, allowing us to focus more on the drama of what's actually going down and not have to wade through really cheesy sitcom episodes. And I really do think WandaVision would have worked better if it had been dropped all at once, like Cobra Kai, where we can see the progression from the sitcom world to the real world a lot smoother. Because when you watch it week to week, it's very broken up, and some of the Easter eggs you think are Easter eggs don't always get paid off, and it honestly allows a lot of time for fan theories to spread, to give unrealistic expectations, and then people are disappointed, and that's no fun. And I don't want to hold that against the show, but that's just the reality of the situation. People are going to speculate. And if that's what Marvel wants, if they want longer attention, then they should make the episodes longer and have more of a punch. Just like arguably the most successful show on their platform does. But that's all structure. What did I think about the actual storyline of WandaVision? Well, the storyline of WandaVision is actually incredibly sad. It's the story of Wanda Maximoff grieving the loss of the love of her life, and in doing so creates this alternate reality where she gets everything she's ever wanted. And when the series focuses on Wanda and Vision and their kids and the whole family dynamic there, it's really effective, and that's the show's strong point. All the principal actors are amazing, Wanda and Vision in particular. Now, Elizabeth Olsen as Wanda has come a long way since her Age of Ultron days. I don't know if it was her or the Russo brothers or if it was someone else in Marvel, but they did a great job at developing this character throughout the multiple movies so that we can get to know her as much as someone like Tony Stark or Captain America. But it's in this show where we truly see all the different sides of Wanda Maximoff, and not all of them good. It not only does a great job at showing all the pain and grief that she's had to live with since she was a kid when that Stark bomb didn't go off, but it also shows how someone with the insane power levels that Wanda has can use those powers with the best of intentions but still ultimately selfishly, and how that affects everyone else around her. She wanted to do right by the citizens of Westview. She kept all the couples together, gave some of them better jobs, but ultimately they were still her puppets under this hex, and that's not freedom. And when the show focuses on that side of Wanda and her powers, it's by far the best thing about this show. But that's not to discount Paul Bettany as the Vision. And this is by far the most character development Vision has ever gotten. And even though he was likable enough from Age of Ultron all the way up to Infinity War, where, he died, he still wasn't much of a personality. He was always just Jarvis in a body. And if it wasn't for that one scene in Infinity War where him and Wanda are somewhere in Europe, and they're, stealing moments, you wouldn't really care that much by the end of the movie when it happens. But here it's a completely different story. Vision still has that robotic, analytical mind that he's always had, but here there's a lot more heart behind his motivations. He loves his wife, he's happy with the life that he lives until he finds out that Wanda's hurting people, and that puts him in a really tough spot. The woman who he loves and loves him and brought him back to life is holding an entire city hostage. And he goes off on his own quest to find the truth. And the truth is, he's just a construction of this new reality. He's not real. And the Vision that's actually made of vibranium that we've come to know and that died in Infinity War is under the control of Sword. I'll come back to Sword in a bit. And this Vision is white, and probably the most obvious reference to the comics that we've had in a while. But this Vision is all programming with none of the mind or heart or whatever the Mind Stone gave him that gave him humanity. And of course you gotta have White Vision and Fake Vision fight, because you have two Visions, they're gonna fight. And it is cool to see them go at it and use their powers to fight each other. And they do something in their fight that I always wanted to see, but movies don't do it very often, where you have two people that have exactly the same powers, you know, like Superman and Zod, going at it, and they're using their powers to try to beat the other person, but the other person also has powers, so they're blocking and countering, and then the other person blocks that and counters that, and it's just this endless loop. And if done well, you can see how their fighting changes to try to one-up the other person, but eventually you're gonna stalemate. And that's exactly what this show does. You see them fighting, you see Vision reaching through the other Vision, and so on and so forth, until they're just floating there in this circle. And as boring as that sounds, it's actually one of my favorite moments of the finale. Because in true Vision fashion, he doesn't fight with his fists, he fights with theories. And in this case, it's the ship of Theseus. And what this theory boils down to is if you have something and you keep replacing the parts, is it still the same thing, or at what point does it become a different thing? And that's pretty accurate to Vision's situation right now. You have the Vision that was crafted by the bits of the Mind Stone that's in Wanda, or his soul basically. And then you have the Vision that is all the parts, but missing the Mind Stone. So which one is the true Vision? And you could see why something like that would stop the fighting. And although Vision touches White Vision on the forehead and all of the memories come rushing back, we don't really get closure with White Vision. He remembers everything, but does he have emotional connections to those memories? Because it is just data. But really, what are our memories and emotions if not electrical impulses and data? So who knows? White Vision just kind of takes off and we don't see him again. It would have been nice to see something about him, see kind of where he's at, maybe a Bucky in the museum kind of scene. But no, I guess they're saving that for Doctor Strange 2 or something. But as great as all of this is, where the show doesn't really reach its full potential is with the Sword stuff and some of the witchcraft stuff. Now Sword, it's just S.H.I.E.L.D. again. I know that Sword is from the comics and is the sister organization to S.H.I.E.L.D. and that they have a lot in common, but I'm just not the biggest fan of this version of Sword because it's just way too boring. But look at it this way, S.H.I.E.L.D. made sense to be boring because it was a defensive organization. They monitored and assessed different situations, but they rarely acted upon it. And on top of that, S.H.I.E.L.D. is incredibly old, dating back to the late 40s, early 50s, and it made sense for there to be a lot of bureaucracy involved. Sword, on the other hand, is a newer organization dating back to at most the 90s, so there isn't much of a need for that same level of bureaucracy. There's space exploration and sentient weapons, so it makes sense for them to have, more futuristic technology and maybe have a different look that's kind of its own thing, but still reminiscent of S.H.I.E.L.D. This is just S.H.I.E.L.D. with new labels on it. But in all fairness, what makes the sequences with Sword work is Monica Rambeau, who's pretty awesome, even though her powers aren't made entirely clear. And I haven't read any of the Photon comics or anything, so I'm not exactly sure how they're supposed to work, but they aren't really explained at all in this show, and I hope that they do something with that later, because she is an interesting character. And I hope that they keep her the same interesting character and don't make her bland like they did with Brie Larson. Fingers crossed. But Jimmy Woo is back in this show, and he is just a ray of sunshine whenever he's on screen. He's hilarious. He's likable. If you want a friendly neighborhood FBI agent to come check on you, he's your guy. And not only is he uplifting and positive, he also has surprisingly good chemistry with Monica, as well as Kat Dennings as Darcy, come to think of it, and she is a vast improvement over her characterization in the Thor movies. But as is the case with a lot of Marvel villains, the villainous characters in this show are comedically one note. You have Hayward, who's just the biggest jerk on the planet. The show literally goes out of its way to make you not like him. And I was hoping that maybe towards the end of the show, the perspective would switch to show that maybe he was in the right for what he was doing because Wanda is a threat. And as the show progresses, you see more of her villainous side coming out. And I was hoping that they were going to do that. But no, you have him trying to murder Wanda's kids, and then he goes to jail. So I don't think there's going to be a redemption arc in store for him. But the other villainous character in the show is Agnes, or Agatha Harkness, as she's revealed to be, the witch from the comics. And she is fun. I really enjoy how over-the-top kooky she is in the first half of the show, because, we're supposed to believe that she's under the sitcom hex, and she masters the lingo of each decade perfectly, and it is hilarious. But when she's revealed to be Agatha Harkness, as cool as that is, and as cool as her dungeon looks, and I really do appreciate bringing the magic and the witchcraft and the sorcery into the Marvel Universe. I feel like that's a part of the Marvel Universe that Doctor Strange touched on, but was never really explored. And I think with Wanda Maximoff, that's the character to do it with. So I do applaud them for doing it, and I think the witchcraft stuff is done well enough, and I'm very excited to see where Wanda takes her witchcraft and her Darkhold book in future movies, probably Doctor Strange too. But when Agatha has to be this big, bad, villainous, wicked witch character that's hurling fireballs, that's when it feels a bit silly. And not in the fun, nostalgic sitcom way, in the Marvel villain overacting kind of way. And she's not especially terrible or anything, she's better than Malekith was, but she still has to say that cliche villain dialogue, and she's just not that compelling as a villain. You don't really feel bad for her. You don't even really know why she's trying to get Wanda's power. She just does because Wanda's being irresponsible with it. But going back to what I really liked about this show is that family dynamic. And in the finale, when she has to ultimately say goodbye to her husband, her kids, everyone that she loves, basically, it's really effective because you understand where Wanda's coming from, you also understand where Vision's coming from, and you understand where the kids are coming from. They didn't ask to be a part of this hex, and they know of no life beyond it, and they don't want their mother to kill them. And that's pretty much how I feel about WandaVision season 1 of probably 1. It tries to incorporate a lot of cool different ideas, and they don't always come together. But when it does, like the elements with the family, it really does. And I can't wait to see more of Wanda and Vision and maybe even the kids in a future Marvel movie. But now I turn it over to you guys. What do you think about WandaVision? Did you like it? Comment that below. It helps out the channel and allows more people to see my content. And if you like this video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe for more content, and hit the notification bell to be notified every time I upload a video. And as always, I'm Colby. This is my nerdy talk, and I'll see you in the next video.